Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad New Fangled Motion Picture Show.
Welcome one and all to another episode of the Everything is Bad New Fangled Motion Picture Show. I'm your host, Niall.
I'm Nolan.
And today we're going to be reviewing the latest in, like, big old blockbuster setting up future stuff, Marvel movies, Eternals. So before you get too worried about it, we are going to do a spoiler-free review because, as with most Marvel movies, there's quite a bit to potentially spoil. But then we'll give you a spoiler warning and we'll go more in depth into it after that. And if you just want to jump straight to spoilers, because I don't know, you get some like weird cathartic feeling out of having stuff spoiled for you. Nolan will mark that on the timeline, probably.
I guess you're one of those weirdos that hates surprises.
Yep. I mean, I hate surprises. Except when they're in movies.
Anyway.
So Eternals is sort of a return to form for Marvel after, you know, being gone for like a year because of COVID, and then they came back with Black Widow, which set up one character for a Disney Plus appearance, you know, and like then there was Shang-Chi, which sort of, you know, is leading into like some Multiverse of Madness stuff. But this is this feels like, you know, it really
it's setting up for a lot. The more like, you know,
like the whole wave. Like it feels like it feels like it's setting up for a larger scale of the next set of stuff.
Yeah. So, this movie is not getting a lot of positive reviews. I think it's better than a lot of people are making out.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that I would change about it.
I would change the length.
It feels really long. Like, it's 2 hours and 37 minutes, and I know there's been obviously longer Marvel movies, but like Infinity War was much longer, Endgame was much longer.
So there are portions of this movie that do drag and are a little boring, and I think they could be cut down, and I would have attempted to cut 20-30 minutes out of this movie.
Yeah,
I think it could benefit from that.
Well, like, to give you an idea, at one point, so like normally with a Marvel movie, like they're normally just very well paced, and like you're just, you know, you get enough action. Like, it'll be an action sequence long enough for you, you know, to the point where, all right, the audience is going to be getting tired of this. Now we're going to drop it to, like, more mellow, like, story building, and there'll be some comedy in there and stuff. And then when that's gone on a bit, now we're back to another action sequence. And they're usually very well balanced and very well paced, and they just feel like whatever is the next sequence just feels right for that point in the movie. But this movie, yeah, like you're saying, because there's parts that definitely drag, and we were like a little over an hour and a half into this, and I checked my watch, and I leaned over and I said, we have almost an hour left of this movie.
And it felt like they were wrapping up, like, to go right in, you know.
It felt like we had maybe 20 to 30 minutes worth of movie
like the
left.
way it was paced, you just felt like, all right, we're ready to like start wrapping things up here.
Right.
But it
Yeah.
didn't.
And I was like, dude, there's characters we haven't seen yet, like that we know are in this movie.
Yeah.
From the trailers and stuff. Like,
there's a number of scenes. Like, I don't know that there's any scenes or sequences that could be like fully cut out.
Oh, there's
Things
definitely
could be cut
some
down.
that could. There's definitely some that could definitely be cut down.
A lot of stuff could be cut down.
Some things
we can go drag.
We can go more in depth into that in the spoiler part, but
so
like
that's my biggest issue with the movie.
And it wasn't even like, it didn't even feel like it was an issue of trying to give so many different characters screen time, which can be a problem in an ensemble movie.
That was actually fairly well balanced.
Yeah, like that. It never felt like there was no character that was sitting there going like, I wish they would have given this character more screen time, or I wish they wouldn't have focused on this character as much. Like there's two, or I guess three of them that are like the main focus, but of those three, two that are like really the important ones here. But you know, nothing feels like, no one feels like they were snubbed or anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's just like, so other than the pacing and length, it's a pretty decent Marvel movie.
People are saying it's the worst one. I don't think it is.
So people are saying it's the worst one. Clearly haven't like watched Iron Man 3 anytime recently.
Or Thor.
Or Thor
Dark
2.
World.
Yeah.
Those are both worse than this movie.
Yeah.
Definitely.
By a lot. And I would say as far as its effects on the overall story, it's a more like the overall like Marvel MCU story, it's a more interesting movie than a lot of them. It's more I think it's
than some of them.
Yeah, and I think it's a more interesting movie than like Black Widow, more interesting movie than Captain Marvel. Like there's yeah, it's just I think it definitely like it's being used to set up a lot more and a lot larger scaled stuff.
One thing I do wish is the monster designs were so boring. They look like every other sci-fi monster. There's like some quadruped with like a crazy fanged face and tentacles coming off.
Well,
I've seen this thing so many times.
Well, and that's the thing. So like they fight, and like you've seen in the trailer, they're called deviants. So they fight this deviant at the beginning of the movie, and then I don't know, 20, 30 minutes later, they encounter another one that's already dead, and someone is like, "Is this the one you fought before?" And they're like, "No, it's a different one." And I was like, "How can you tell?" Because they all look the same.
Yeah, but not only they all look the same, they look like monsters I've seen in other movies.
Yeah,
and I'm tired of this like same monster design. It's just getting kind of stale. Other than that, like the effects were good, and I was surprised that I was expecting a lot more effects actually. Like the sometimes in these sorts of movies the fight scenes can just kind of get hard to follow because it's just all these like lasers and explosions and stuff going on. You don't really.
Yeah.
I never really felt that way in this. I think they were a little bit better put together.
No, and I think they always did a good job too of like you were never like it was always very even if someone's just like very quickly like moved across the screen, like it was always very easy to know which Eternal was doing what at all. Like anytime there was these big fight scenes going on.
Yeah, it didn't get jumbled or muddied like that. So I don't know. I'd put this. It's an okay movie. Like other than the length.
Yeah, so it's got.
And I have a few things I'll get into in the spoiler section.
Yeah,
it's not that bad a movie. Not nearly the worst, like people are saying.
So it's setting up a character though. Like I don't think it's a spoiler to tell you that like they use this movie to set up a character for what's probably going to be like a Disney Plus show. Like that should not come as a surprise to anyone at this point with these movies. And I'm definitely more interested in this character than I am in the character they set up with Black Widow. But to be fair, I heard that was after the fact that they decided to do that.
Because she wound up being so well liked.
Yeah.
The character.
But I'll get more into that in the spoiler part too. But so this movie's sitting at a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb right now. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah. Oh, also there's so much on the internet, it's YouTube in particular, talking about this is just bunch of woke garbage. I'm like, I mean, I don't know the Eternals. Like, I know they've been around a while, but I don't know who they are. I've never read a comic with any of them. And I guess the one who's gay, I guess, was not gay before, and they made him gay for this. And it's like, yeah, I'm always for don't change a character, make a new one that it's whatever you want,
Yeah.
But I have no ties to these characters.
Yeah. And
so while yes, I would rather them have made a new character, if they want a gay character in there, make a new one.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, it's like
suddenly Spider-Man was gay or something.
Yeah, it's such a minor thing in the movie too. It's like.
It doesn't even really feel like pandering because it feels natural.
Yeah. So
when they reveal it in the show, and you're like, okay, it's not like the pandering level. that you've come to expect.
Right. So, but I definitely, I don't, so Rotten Tomatoes, the way it aggregates scores, is it ends up rating any movie that ends up with less than a 60% fresh rating as rotten. And so this movie is okay. At last time I checked, I haven't checked in. When I checked, it was still Friday of release weekend, so it hadn't gotten like. But the fresh rating, like that's all critic ratings though, right?
Think so?
Because the popcorn bucket is the fan rating, right?
Yeah.
So I would assume like anyone who was going to write a review on this movie had seen it. Like we're going to write like an actual critic review of this movie.
Yeah.
Had seen it by Friday. So I would assume it's probably still rated as rotten on there. But would you say that that's unfair?
So let's see. To be a fresh score, the
Needs to be above 60.
The critic though needs to rate it as above 50%.
Yeah.
So when you take all of the scores there, only like 59% of the critics have given it a positive review.
Have given it above
average review.
Above average review, yeah.
Because it could be a lot of critics are saying that it's just kind of okay, and they're putting it like right in the middle.
Yeah.
And those are
bringing
it down.
Yeah, it's like it's one of the things like I don't really like looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score. It's just that everyone was making a big deal because like there had only been like 2 other Marvel movies rated as rotten or something, I think.
Yeah.
And so like people were making a big deal out of it when it finally it was officially a rotten movie according to Rotten Tomatoes. But like I don't pay much credit to that because of the way it aggregates scores is, you know, it doesn't average the actual ratings together from all these different critics. If it's a positive review, it's basically +1, and if it's a negative review of any kind, regardless of how negative or how positive, it becomes a negative. It becomes a -1, and so like if you end up basically
in the middle,
you're gonna be a rotten movie because you need to be 60 or higher.
Right. Like I remember seeing someone analyze, like comparing some DC movies versus Marvel movies, and the average like Rotten Tomato score for the DC movies is lower than the average Marvel, but then when you look at the actual reviews, the DC movies tend to have a lot more positive reviews. It's just the way things broke down.
Yeah.
Once things are aggregated. Or, you know, a movie like, oh, this movie is terrible, but then still actually got a better score than what's considered a pretty good Marvel movie.
So I mean,
sort of thing. So
on IMDb here, it's got almost 1,000 user reviews and over 200 critic reviews, and 57,000 submitted ratings.
So one of the problems with IMDb is you don't have to prove that you actually saw it.
Right.
And there's a lot of people on IMDb that will be like, well, I don't think the average score is appropriate, so I'm going to rate it extremely one way or the other to try to change that instead of rating it what I feel it actually deserves. Yeah,
I mean, you get 1,000 user reviews though. Usually stuff's gonna start to balance out pretty well.
Yeah, that's true. But sometimes you get some really dumb people in there, like
people who like didn't understand, like, you know, this was dumb, and it's like, well, that was the whole point of the movie. So like,
sometimes you get people that.
Or like, this didn't make sense, and I'm like, well, it's because you're an idiot.
Yeah, or, you know, kid was screaming in my theater, 1 star, like.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
It has nothing to do with the movie, bro.
Yeah, or all the people who said Jojo Rabbit was glorifying Nazism, and I was like, did you see the same movie? But anyway, so yeah, I don't know, and like, you know, normally ratings on movies isn't something we really talk about that hard. We just sort of throw out the IMDb rating and decide if we think that's appropriate or not. But like, I don't know. It seems like with Marvel movies, it's always such a big deal to people what they get rated at.
Yeah, especially because so many people online are saying this is a terrible movie, and I don't think it's a terrible movie.
No.
It has its problems, but it's definitely not the worst Marvel movie.
No, but pretty much all the problems are made up for by the inclusion of Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh, he was great in this movie.
Yeah, he was the best part. He was really funny, which you were telling me about before. You were worried that they weren't going to take advantage of the fact that he's just a really funny actor.
Yeah, and no, they totally took advantage of that. I was glad for that when he showed up.
Yeah,
like the scene where he first shows up. Well, not when he first shows up, but like in the modern world when you first see him in the modern world.
It's incredible.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think we've beaten this horse now.
Yeah. So, spoiler warning?
Yeah.
So, what I was getting at so the character we were referring to getting set up in Black Widow was, what's her name? That was, her sister that was, I forget her name, but, you know, I was saying what I'm more interested in is seeing, Kit Harington doing badass shit with a demon-possessed sword.
Yeah. He's Dane Whitman, or the Black Knight,
who wields the ebony blade, which I assume the sword is demon possessed because it sure looked and sounded like it was demon possessed.
Yeah. Well, I thought when you mentioned the setup a character, I was like, I didn't know if you meant him or if you meant Harry Styles.
Oh yeah, here's the thing: Harry Styles, another Eternal, so I know nothing about him.
Right.
He's an Eternal from another planet.
Yeah. Also Thanos' brother. He claims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe that's more like a a blood brother thing,
like Loki and Odin in like actual mythology, not
actual mythology, not Marvel mythology.
So
because
I saw
he doesn't look like a purple sack.
I was gonna say I saw a meme today. Did you send that to me?
It's like it must be hard being
Harry Styles'
brother when you look like
a purple nutsack.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely. I'm interested in seeing Kit Harington wield a demon possessed sword and looking at it. He's not really a big enough or powerful enough character, I think, that he's going to get his own movie. But I could definitely see. I mean, they're going to do something with him. Either he's going to be in someone else's movie,
I'm guessing Moon Knight if he's going to be in anyone's movie.
Yeah, I could see that. Or he's going to get he's going to be part of a Disney Plus show or get his own Disney Plus show. Here's the thing: Kit Harington could carry a show.
Yeah. Actually, I think he was one of the better actors in this. Richard Madden played Icarus. He was a little stiff at times.
Yeah, but I kind of wonder if that was
his character.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I kind of wonder if part of that was his character and the direction.
Part of that was his character, I believe, but I don't know. One thing that I can get into this that bothered me in their attempt at being really inclusive, they have a character who's deaf, which I don't have a problem with there being a deaf character or a deaf actress playing a deaf character, whatever. But when you find out that the Eternals
are manufactured,
they're essentially robots, or more like replicants,
automatons.
They're automatons built by the Celestials to ensure that a planet develops the way it needs to have enough life, like intelligent life on it, so that all that life can be sacrificed to birth a new Celestial. But it's like, so why would you create one that is deaf?
Yeah, it
doesn't make sense.
It makes it feel kind of pandering-y.
That bit did,
because it like you said, when you find out that when it's just she's deaf, you're like, okay, fine, whatever. But then when you find out they're manufactured, you're like, why would you? Like, it just.
Why wouldn't you fix that?
Yeah.
So why would you let that one go to production? Or.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's again, I think there's a better way that you could have introduced a deaf character into a deaf superhero into the Marvel universe. I mean, was she that way in the comics?
I have no clue if she was even in the comics. I assume she was, but she probably wasn't deaf, is my guess.
I have no idea. So, Yeah, I mean,
I've never read a comic with the Eternals in it. So.
no, I haven't either. But yeah, so yeah, that one felt a little weird. Like it was fine until you found out they were manufactured, and then it felt weird.
Right, because it's like, why would you do that? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, unless they, I mean, if they had explained it away as like a result of, the too many memories like Athena had going on.
Right, because you find out that
Every time a celestial's birth, their minds get wiped and they get reassigned to a new planet.
yeah, and then the mind wipe didn't take properly on Athena.
Right, Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, if that was an issue with, damage that was irreparable or from before or something, okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah. Like I don't know. It feels like that could have been better handled. I don't know.
Yeah, so the big reveal in this is that to birth a celestial, you need to sacrifice the life on a planet. It has to be enough life force,
enough intelligent life
to birth it. I don't know if it necessarily has to be intelligent, or if only intelligent life would multiply enough to have that much population.
Well, they were definitely sent to protect intelligent life.
Yeah. So basically, all right. So the Celestials created the deviants to go to a planet and wipe out the more dangerous predators, so that intelligent life can flourish without being just totally eaten and destroyed by the dangerous predators. Except they lost control of the deviants, and now the deviants are just attacking and killing anything. So then the Celestials created the Eternals to go bring the deviant population under control. And this is on planets all across the galaxy, thousands of worlds that they're doing this. And so once the population reaches a certain point, a Celestial can be born from the core of the planet, destroys the planet, and the Eternals get assigned to another planet.
And the whole point is the Celestial creates new star systems and thus new life, and perpetuates that whole cycle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the
Earth
big
is right about to have their
the big reveal is that Earth was actually about to have it happen when Thanos wiped out half the population of the universe, which thus delayed this one being born. What was it? This one, the one that was going to be born was Tiamat. Yeah,
like the dragon,
like the 5-headed dragon from D&D.
Yeah. So when Thanos was defeated and everyone came back, their leader Ajak, Salma Hayek, decided humanity did this. No one else could do that.
Humanity's too awesome.
Humanity's too awesome to destroy.
They also look exactly like us. No other aliens in the universe look exactly like us, but humanity does.
I'm wondering if the Eternals' physical forms are altered for the planet that they're assigned to.
Well, I mean, when Harry Styles showed up at the end, he sure looked human as hell.
Yeah, but there's a lot of aliens in the galaxy that look fairly human. But I wonder if there's Eternals that look like Skrull. Skrull. Yeah, the green guys.
Yeah.
Or anything,
Yeah,
everything in the galaxy is humanoid, though. That's how it is.
Yeah.
So,
well, I guess there has to be other humans out there, because a whole bunch of the Reavers they look human, right?
Right. Although they can tell when one's a human, like an Earthling, and one's not.
Yeah, everyone knew Peter Quill was an Earthling, but
there's still plenty of aliens.
What's his name's brother?
James
Gunn's brother.
Sean Gunn.
Yeah, looks exactly like a human, but you know.
So anyway, she decides humanity is actually really awesome. I don't think we should destroy it. So she's trying to actually stop. She's trying to stop this emergence from happening, and find out Icarus, who was kind of playing along like he's working, like he had the same, or he was working towards that same goal with the rest of the Eternals, was actually, he's like, no, our duty is to make this happen, so I'm not gonna put an end to it. So it'd wind up with this fight between him and the rest of them.
This dude's basically Superman.
Yeah, he's got a lot of the same powers. Got laser eye beams, flight, super
He
strength.
flies around like standing directly upright a lot. Yeah, laser eye beams, super strength, although apparently not as strong as Superman.
No. Although he flew into the sun at the end.
Yeah, it was a little on the nose considering the name.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting how they sort of like tied some of these characters into human mythology, because like it makes sense because they're not hiding from humanity this whole time in like these ancient times. They're not hiding from humanity at any point. So ancient civilizations, they see some dude come down flying, shooting laser eye beams, fighting giant monsters. Like naturally you're gonna assume that dude's a god,
Right. Well, like Angelina Jolie's Athena is the inspiration for Athena.
right?
Well, she's very insistent that there's no A at the beginning.
There's
Violently so.
Gilgamesh is in there.
Yeah, and so apparently one of these characters, Sprite, she's a storyteller, and so a lot of these mythology around these characters is just stories she made up and is telling the locals as they travel around killing the monsters.
Yeah. So she made up the story about Icarus flying too close to the sun and melting his wings. It's sort of a dig at him.
Yeah, at one point, they're in Babylon, and she's telling the story of Gilgamesh and on his epic quest with his best bro, Hidu, or his name is Hidu.
It's been
It's been a
since
long
college
time.
since I read that.
It's been high school since for me, so
Yeah.
even longer. Anyway, yeah. So obviously they stop it, but from happening. But
Yeah. It's kind of cool. Like, it's in the process of being birthed out of the Indian Ocean when they managed to stop it. And it's just kind of like, part of it's like really cool, but also the scale feels off.
yeah, it feels too small, but maybe it'll grow once it's.
Yeah, I was like,
It's a baby.
right. I
Celestial.
was like, this Celestial feels small. Like, yeah, it's big, but when you consider like this tiny island they're on is like filling up most of the palm of the hand.
Right, but then you also, because there's like a scene where it shows that like creating a star, and it's creating a star
Between its hands.
So obviously celestials can get very big. I wonder if maybe they can adjust their size somewhat.
Yeah, because every time they went and talked to I can't remember the.
Start with an A.
Yeah, every time they went and talked to the guy they were working for, Arapos? Arishim. Every time they went and talked to Arishim, like, he was not big enough to create a star between his hands. You know?
Right, although like they were just like a speck in his palm.
Still not, yeah.
Still not that big, yeah.
So I wonder if, yeah, maybe they get bigger. Because I was like, man, this thing feels small for what it's supposed to be. And you were like, it's a hatchling. And it's going to grow.
Just looking at what that guy has done, it's like all voice work.
Yeah.
Using He-Man.
Well, that's
That
cool.
recent one.
That's cool that they got like a legit voice actor to do.
He was Cringer
You know.
in that recent Netflix He-Man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so complete opposite voice of what he did in this.
Yeah. So anyway,
He's Clank in the Ratchet and Clank games.
yeah. But anyway, so that's
Yeah, because normally they'll get like a live actor, someone who's not specifically a voice actor, do voices anyway. Like
yeah.
But
But I thought that was kind of neat in this because like other than Angelina Jolie and Selma Hayek, like they didn't get anyone. I mean, Kit Harington's a pretty big name, but he's not huge, you know. He's not Robert Downey Jr., you know. And so I just think it's kind of cool how like that they got
Robert Downey Jr. was at the lowest point in his career when they did Iron Man.
That's true, but he was very well known
at
that point.
He was well known, but he was still
at
a low point.
No, and like Chris Evans wasn't a big name yet when they cast him. Like I think the only thing, like they cast him and we were like, what do we even know him from? Star Trek and Chris Evans?
Yeah, he played George.
Oh yeah. Yeah?
played Kirk's father at the beginning when he flies into the. That was Chris Evans. Or no, I was thinking Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, I was gonna say no. I think you got the wrong Chris. No,
Yeah,
I was gonna say we only knew Chris Evans from Scott Pilgrim, right?
Yeah, well, he was in Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Human Torch. Yeah, and he was in not Pilgrim.
He was one of the evil X's, right?
Yeah, he was one of the evil X's. He was the one that was the actor.
I don't remember. I just remember one was a vegan and was taken away by the vegan police for eating gelato.
That was that guy. He played Superman in Superman Returns, and he was in that one. It's in that comic book movie, but it's like a French comic book about like the guy who's like the supernatural detective.
Oh, Dylan Dog?
Dylan Dog, yes, that was him.
Oh, wow.
But oh, you know what else Chris said was another comic book movie? Was that movie that was kind of like the A-Team?
Oh, The Losers.
Yes, he was the loser. He was the hacker guy.
Yeah, that's right. I remember now. Yes, but still, he wasn't like a huge name.
Yeah, it's also like fairly small roles, except for
yeah. But yeah, so I mean, it's this movie. I'd recommend going to see it. It's nothing coming out this weekend anyway, so you might as well, right?
Yeah, you might as well. Like we said before, it's not nearly.
It's a fine Marvel movie.
It's fine.
This would be an exceptional DC movie.
Yeah.
It's a fine Marvel movie, and it would be an exceptional DC movie. So, and it's got Kumail Nanjiani in it being funny. Oh yeah, you were gonna mention when he first shows up, he's a Bollywood star.
Well, it shows where they're like gotta get the gang back together, right? Because they thought that they had destroyed all the deviants for like 500 years. They'd all gone their separate ways, and so they're like, we're gonna get the gang back together. So they go in and find them, and it cuts to this like shot, and there's this like woman dancing. I'm like, please tell me he's a Bollywood star. And yes, he is a Bollywood star.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's so great. And he's like he's got his private jet and all that stuff. He's like a really famous Bollywood star.
From a long line of Bollywood stars.
Yeah, a long line, like air quotes. He's been his own father, grandfather, and great grandfather as an actor, and he just gets to a point where he's like pretends to be like the next generation.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna mention like some of the stuff that I would have cut down too, like the sequence when they're in what's that, the Mayan capital?
Oh,
right. It was a. It was the Mayans. Am I getting that right? Oh man.
Yeah, I think it was because they had the step pyramids and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, when that whole sequence when they're like the conquistadors are burning the city and stuff, like that whole sequence felt a lot longer than it needed to be.
They could have cut down the stuff between.
Which also that whole that set they were on felt very much like a set. It felt super weird to me because it was like a very flat and open space that they were in for supposed to be the depths of a Central American jungle.
Yeah.
It felt weird.
There were some scenes that they could have cut just a little, like a minute here or there out of things. You know, like there was a scene between Icarus and Cersei in like Babylon.
Oh, they could have cut out the sex scene.
Yeah.
That was weird.
They could have. I mean, we knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Without that scene,
that's the thing is like it's. I mean, they didn't show any nudity, but like they were both nude. You only saw them from the shoulders up, but they were definitely nude, laying on top of each other, gyrating around.
Yeah, that felt weird for a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
That could have been cut out, and because like
you just need to imply that they have sex.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But just several things here could have just been cut for time, a little bit here and there, just tighten things up.
Yeah.
Cut down on some scenes. There's some some slow paced scenes that kind of drag for a while, and I think you could have gotten another like 20 minutes shorter movie.
Definitely. But anyway, so anything else to say on this, or?
Nah.
So what's our next movie, Nolan? Do you remember?
Ghostbusters?
Yes. Yes, it is Ghostbusters. And then I believe House of Gucci after that. Yeah. House of Gucci. Then in December, we have Spider-Man and The Matrix Resurrections and The Kingsman to close out the year. All three of those movies I'm very excited for. So can we talk for a second how they got the perfect song for the trailer for that new Matrix movie?
Oh yeah. The Jefferson Airplane? White Rabbit?
Is that Jefferson Airplane? But yeah, it's just like that if the trailer is edited as well, or if the movie is edited as well as that trailer is, it's gonna be incredible. So looking forward to that. Also, The Kingsman, which should have been out like a year ago.
Oh, I'm so excited for that.
I just hope like if that movie ends up being a disappointment, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I'm such a big fan of Kingsman, like especially that first one.
Yeah.
Which is based off a comic, and the movie is definitely better than the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read the comic, and I'm like, I can see like where this story turned into that story, but the movie does it better.
Yeah. But so yeah, we'll see how that one goes, and so if any of that sounds of interest to you, come back and check those reviews out later. Hit that subscribe button or the bell or whatever, or don't. I don't really care. Not like we're making money at this anyway, so and go check out other reviews. What was our last one? Wasn't Dune, was it? No, it was Ron's Gone Wrong. Was that the last one?
Wrong?
No.
No, maybe.
No, it wasn't that.
The
French Dispatch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So go check out our review for that, and check out those other upcoming reviews, and go see movies. It seems like people are back at the theater. Doesn't seem like they're having issues anymore.
Yeah,
like the first few months after the theaters opened back up there
were quite a few people in our showing of Eternals.
Yeah. So anyway, until next time, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Toodles.